Hello, my name's Rosie and I work on the WIN project, the Wessex Inspiration Network, and I've put this resource together for you to help you write your CV. So building a CV, preparing for your future. So the outcomes that we'll be addressing with this resource are knowing what to include in your CV, linking your personal skills to your everyday experiences, and identifying your personal interests. So there is a workbook that accompanies this resource, which if you have, then fantastic. Use it as we move through this presentation. If you don't have access to this workbook, that's not a problem at all, because everything that is included in the workbook is detailed throughout these slides. And of course, you can pause this presentation at any point to make notes. So grab a pen, grab the workbook or some paper, and let's begin. So what is a CV? Well, it stands for Curriculum Vitae, which is Old Latin, which means course of life. It's a written document which details our achievements and skills, our qualifications and training, and our employment and work experience. So as a document that details the course of our life in these three different areas, you can imagine it's going to look very different at different stages of life. So the CV that you put together now while in school or college will look very different again in your 20s and in your 30s as you move through life, as you build up your qualifications and training, achievements and skills, and work history. So what do CVs look like? Well, I'm going to just talk through two different layouts to begin with. So the chronological CV is what you can see here. This is a layout which presents your education, employment and work experience starting with your most recent. So it's really highlighting qualifications and jobs. This is a CV that you will be looking at producing when you've built up a bit more work experience and education history. So the second is a skills-based CV, and this really highlights your skills and qualities and shows your abilities. So you can see under the personal profile, the skills and personal qualities section there, you've got a whole list of skills down on the left-hand side, and then descriptors of those skills and how you have developed those skills with some evidence and some examples. So this is what you will be creating at this stage, a skills-based CV. So a good place to start is by looking at what CVs look like, and the internet is a great source of content for this. So I've just put two different websites up here. You've got CV Plaza and Top CV. Both of these websites you can access CV templates for free, just download them. So perhaps you've already started putting a CV together and you just want to have a look at maybe upgrading it, or perhaps you're starting from scratch. You can also just take something straight off Microsoft Word. Some advice is to keep it simple, keep to one page only, and choose a clear layout and consistent font throughout. Okay, so these three areas are what we're going to talk through now and give you some resources to help you start writing them. So the personal profile comes at the top of your CV, underneath your personal information, your name and contact details. So the personal profile is the opening statement. It's where you talk about yourself, you're bold, you're confident, and you use positive adjectives to really highlight your qualities and your attributes. Then your skills section, remembering you're going to be putting together a skills-based CV. So think about your top 3 skills, and that's what you're detailing here, with a short description of evidence of how you've developed those skills. And then this third section, personal interests. So this is the paragraph which describes you. What makes you you? What makes you tick? What are you really interested in? So let's look at these three areas in a bit more detail. So the personal profile, the bold, confident opening statement. So you can see on the left-hand side here under "This is me," we might describe ourselves in these ways in more informal settings with friends and family. I'm a good laugh, I'm sociable, I'm laid back. Those are all fine qualities, but not the language you want to be using in your CV. You want to be translating those descriptions into language you can see here on the right. So rather than being a good laugh, I get on well with people. I'm a good communicator. Rather than being bossy, I have strong leadership skills and confidence. So you can see by looking at these the use of appropriate and more formal language in your CV. And there are a few sentence openers, sentence starters at the bottom of the screen there. So do pause this slide and take information away that's going to be useful to you. Again, all of this is in the workbook, so you can use it in your own time as well. Again, in your opening personal profile, use positive adjectives to describe yourself. So I've put together this word cloud which really springs out lots of strong positive words: enthusiastic, reliable, creative, curious, motivated, capable. There might be some of these that you relate to or do describe you really well. So again, use them if they resonate with you. Make a note now. So then moving on to your skills section. How do you link your skills and experience? So some of you may feel there isn't a lot to put in your CV yet. However, you all have skills that you are using in your everyday activities and experiences, and we call these transferable skills. So on the next slide, I will bring up a whole bunch of different activities and then give you some resources to help you link your skills to these activities. So everyday activities and experiences, these are your transferable skills. So as I bring them up, if you do have experience of any of these, just make a note of them. Have you ever raised money for charity? Fixed something? Learned a different language? Perhaps you're an artist, a creative, and you created music, dance, poetry, photography. Perhaps you design and make things. Perhaps you really enjoy planning and you've been involved in planning trips before, perhaps on Duke of Edinburgh or holidays. Perhaps you've been head of, captain of, or taken leadership responsibility in some sort of group or team. Cared for or trained any animals. Learnt to use new equipment, perhaps music, perhaps IT equipment, perhaps anything to do with sport or outdoor activities. Perhaps you have extra caring responsibilities at college or in the school or in the home environment. Or perhaps you're involved in any clubs or teams, marketed or sold something. Involved in any campaigning, any change making, any youth movements, any social action movements. Perhaps you've restored or upcycled something, furniture, clothing perhaps, or won a competition, or achieved an amazing score in something that you'd like to talk about on your CV. Maybe you manage a social media page or group. Perhaps you're really confident and competent in video editing, or redesigned a room or a space virtually or in real time. Perhaps you have volunteering experience, or you're into gaming or role-play games. So I'll just leave these up on the screen for a moment. Have another look through all of them and make a note. I'm sure for each of you there's at least 2 or 3 or maybe more of these activities that you have experience in. So in having experience of these activities, you are developing skills, and you can see this pinboard details just some of the skills that you have been developing as a result of being involved in these activities. So if you manage any social media groups or pages, you show responsibility. You're an organised person. Perhaps if you've ever been involved in any team activities, collaborative, creative work, your communication skills will be strong. Your teamwork skills, your confidence will have grown as a result of that. So you can begin to see the linking that's happening here between your activities that you have experience in and the skills that you are naturally developing as a result of that experience. And this just goes a little bit further to give you a bit more detail and some more resources to use. So you can see this activity column. You've got work experience, socialising, hobbies, sports, music, drama, arts, working on computers, reading, travelling, looking after people, leadership, volunteering, languages, being involved in youth groups, campaigning, etc. And then the skills that you are developing as a result of being involved in these activities. So again, pause on this slide and make a note of anything that you have experience of from this activity column, and make a note of the skills that you will be naturally developing as a result. And these are what you're going to be writing about on your CV, and it might be a case that you need to narrow it down and choose your top 3 skills, the ones that you feel really confident in, the ones that you would talk about in interviews with confidence. So then, how to craft those everyday experiences and transferable skills into a personal profile? Well, it's a step-by-step process, and you can see with these 2 examples up on the slide those 3 steps. So an everyday experience of perhaps looking after a relative, you'll be developing the skills of responsibility, empathy, patience, timekeeping, and many more as well, I'm sure. And you can see the example here on the right hand side. All of that has turned into a strong opening statement of I am a caring and patient person who has experience of supporting others. I have shown responsibility and timekeeping skills while helping to care for a relative. I am able to respond to requests appropriately and in a sensitive way. I enjoy learning about behaviour and psychology and hope to study this post-16. You can see from this example that the person has used some strong, positive opening adjectives, caring, patient, and talked about how they've developed those skills, and then ended with an aspiration of what they are choosing to go on to. So that future self being detailed in your personal profile is really important. So these are the areas that we've just looked at. The personal profile, that top opening statement under your personal details. And you can see another example here up on the right hand side with 2 highlighted positive adjectives in the opening sentence there. And then 3 top skill examples here that have been highlighted for this person as time management, leadership and information technology. And you can see how this is crafted together, and you've given a strong example with evidence of how you've developed that skill. So pause the slide, have a good read, and have a go at writing your own. So then on to your personal interests section. So this is the area where you talk about in a succinct way, succinct being 1-2 sentences maximum, what makes you you, what makes you tick, what are you really passionate about. So here's a couple of questions just to help you think about that. What causes are you most passionate about and why? Are you particularly interested in the arts? Are you interested in travel? Are you really interested and follow politics? Are you involved in any campaigning around the climate emergency? And this creativity question I think is really useful. What would you create if you were given £1,000 tomorrow? It might get you thinking about changes that you might like to make in your local community or the wider world. So have a go at answering these questions, either with yourself or choose a friend or a family member to ask them with and see what comes out. And again, use these strong opening sentence starters at the beginning of your personal interests section. So just to expand on that personal interest section a little bit more, ask yourself these 3 questions. How do you expand your thinking and imagination? Do you listen to particular podcasts or watch YouTube channels with areas of interest to you? A couple of examples up there on the screen that you might want to check out. Second question, what are you curious about? Do you attend or have you been attending any online conferences? Been watching any webinars, TED Talks? Are you involved in any social media groups? Again, that expand your interest and open up your curiosity. Anything that you particularly are reading. And thirdly, what do you participate in? So anything online that you've been doing that's additional to your course and your learning, or activities that you're involved in, whether that's kind of running, fitness, boxing, dance, any creative arts. So look at these 3 questions for yourself and make some notes and craft together that personal interest section. Again, that just 1 or 2 sentences, a short, snappy paragraph that describes what your interests are. Okay, so then to finish with a CV checklist. So do's. Do be positive and bold. Do highlight your relevant skills and experience. Do use evidence and examples to back up your experiences and the skills that you're highlighting. Remember to check your spelling and your grammar. And change your CV to match each job you apply for. Remember, it's a document which takes you through the course of your life, so it will be changing constantly. We call this tailoring when you're changing your CV. And do use all the online resources and sites on the internet to help guide you as you put your CV together or as you upgrade your CV. And do check it and get someone else to check it. It's so easy to make mistakes. And employers look for such a short amount of time at a CV. You don't want yours being thrown out for a spelling mistake or a grammatical error. So if you don'ts here, don't lie on your CV. Be honest about what your achievements are, what your experience is, and what your skills are. Because remember, when you get called for interview, you will then be questioned about what you have on your CV. So don't use more than 2 pages at this stage of putting your first CV together, or in your kind of early years of work history and building up your qualifications. You should only have the 1 page. Don't include your date of birth, your gender, anything like that, any sensitive personal data on your CV. You just are putting your name and your contact details at the top. And don't leave any gaps in your school or work record, because that just leaves the person reading it with questions. So give the information and give it clearly and confidently. And best of luck putting your CV together. Do get involved and follow us on social media. You can see the handles below there, or check our website out, the Wessex Inspiration Network website, which is constantly being upgraded with new and relevant resources to help you. Best of luck. Thank you.